Thank you, Joel, for that report. That is the beginning of Tuesday Live today. And I have guests here in the studio for us to discuss the importance of sustaining peace and unity for national development in Nigeria. This is our topic today on Tuesday Live. And I have in the studio this morning Pastor Oluseyi Malamo. He's the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Olive 3 Parish, Guzape, and also the immediate past chaplain of the Aso Villa Chapel. You're welcome to Tuesday Live.
And good evening to you.
And next to him is Imam Mohammed Ashafa, Co-Executive Director, Faith Interfaith Mediation Center, Kaduna, and Ambassador of Peace for the United Nations Alliance for Civilization. Thank you for coming on Tuesday
Thank you
Live.
very much for inviting us to this important occasion.
Yes, and we also have in the studio Bishop Michael Akpami. He's the National Director, Planning, Research and Strategy, Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN. He's also the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, CAN Liaison Office. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for having
Live.
me here. Thank you.
And we also have joining us via Zoom. Okay, I hear that our guest from Ibadan is not ready now. Let's begin this conversation on a lighter note. We're ushering in Christmas by 12 midnight, actually. And we got a message from our president telling us that, that in this message, and I'm going to read it from here. He said, Christmas embodies the fulfillment of divine prophecy and symbolizes the triumph of love, peace, and unity. It is a poignant reminder that light can emerge even in the darkest time, bringing solace and hope. This belief resonates with people of all faiths, indeed, and God is with us. Let's begin with you. What do you make of this message?
Well, thank you very much. Once again, good evening to all audience out there. The president could not be more apt because the birth of Christ truly was the fulfillment of prophecy. As a matter of fact, the Bible says in the book of Genesis, chapter 3, after man fell and committed a sin, that God made a judgment on mankind and said that the serpent will bruise the knee of the mankind, serpent, the snake, but that the seed of the woman is going to come and bruise the head of the serpent. And it's that prophecy that was fulfilled in the birth of Christ, where the Bible says, unto us a child is born, a son is given, the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be Wonderful Counselor Emmanuel. In fact, it seems you know the Bible very well.
Yes.
So the president was apt about that, and that it also brings about peace and love. Is the greatest sacrifice ever to be experienced, because he left his grandeur majesty. He was the Son of God before coming to the earth. He's still the Son of God, but he decided to humble himself and keep himself in the womb of a woman. You women, you are precious.
Of course we are. Yes.
So humbled himself there to go through the birth process for the sake of saving humanity. And that is to identify with us. So the president was very apt in what he has
Indeed,
said.
He was apt. And let's bring in Bishop Michael Akpami now into this conversation. Christ symbolizes peace to all mankind, and it's a message that is, sent across all religions, preach peace. And Nigeria is a very diverse country with different tribes, ethnicity, and of course religion. So what does Christmas signify to Nigerians?
Thank you very much. Christ indeed is the Prince of Peace, and his birth was announced by the angels in Bethlehem, and when they announced his birth, the announcement by the angels declared peace upon the earth, goodwill towards men. So Jesus Christ in his coming actually came to bring peace between God and man, and then peace between man and man. That if we are able to imbibe his teachings, imbibe the principles that he's laid out in scriptures, obviously we will have peace. Love does no harm to his neighbor. If we imbibe that as a culture in our nation, in which I will not harm you, you will not harm me, I won't raise a gang of wicked men against you. I mean, if I don't harm you, you don't harm me, we will have peace in our nation. And I think these are principles we need to imbibe. Imbibing them will give us a peaceful nation.
Thank you so much. And I hear that our guest, Reverend Akanji, President of the Baptist Convention, Nigeria, he is not, it's Archbishop Imam Isong. He's also joining us from Calabar, International President of the Christian Center International, Calabar. You're welcome to Tuesday Live. I'll have to pause you there so that I can finish with the guests here in the studio. I'll get back to you right away. And now, Imam Mohammed Ashafa, let's look at peace as an important component to national peace and unity and development, because Islam signifies peace.
Thank you very much, Jumai. I think the most important thing you've just said it. Islam signifies peace. The concept of peace is an embodiment that is all comprehensive in its nature. And that's why we can see, even across Islamic traditions, the bond that bound us together, even with Jesus Christ, is so unique that you cannot be true Muslims if you don't believe in Jesus. So therefore, the marking of important anniversary, the birth of Christ, the coming of Christ, is a component of every Muslim faith, beliefs, and practices. And he lived with this. So therefore, I'm not only believing in Jesus, and then show extension of solidarity with the Christian nation. And we saw that in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Roman Empire, which was the center driving force of Christianity then, was in the danger when the Persian attacked that country. Prophet Muhammad from Medina raised up his hand in prayer, in solidarity, praying that God should give the Christian victory over the enemies who have taken them over. And that prayer gave birth to a whole chapter in the Holy Quran called chapter Surah Rum, chapter Roman. Yeah. And that history shows to us that not only Muslim history, right from time immemorial, there's extension of that dignity. And we saw that extension when Muslims were in difficult situation. The Prophet of Islam looked where can they find political asylum? What you call political asylum today? Where can they have a safe zone? He said, they go to Abyssinia. There is a Christian king in whom is a just leader. He will give you a protection. And the first family of Muslims come to Africa, and they move to Abyssinia, and they met this Christian king. And then the Romans saw the Arabs, Meccan government, sent envoy to go and bring them back by whatever means necessary. But when they explained their mission, the prince, the king, who is the Christian king, Ethiopia, said, no, these Muslims, between us and them, there is only 18 line. So therefore, my brother, you are free to stay in Abyssinia as long as you wish. This shows to us that it is just not here. We being the brothers and sisters. From the bosom of Abraham, we're all children of Abraham by faith. One from Sarah, the other from Hagar. So Isaac and Ishmael, they are bond that bound us together. We need to use that template to develop and empower what become a Nigeria of our dream. A Nigeria where people will not be harmed simply because of what they believe or because of their differences.
Indeed, because of their differences. One would really look at it from every aspect. The difference, like you said, is just a thin line. Let's bring in Archbishop Imam Esong. He is the international president of the Christian Center International, Calabar. Let's look at ways of promoting peace in Nigeria, and how can we begin to achieve that?
Thank you so much for bringing me into the discussion. I appreciate all the contributors in the studio. Like you said, it's a very easy thing to meet like this and discuss about peace, religious peace and unity, the spirit of the season of Christmas. But I want us to realize as Nigerians that in the football field, when we are playing football, nobody's of another clime of religion. Everybody's Nigerian. And in the National Assembly, same thing. We have people of different religion. They cooperate, pass the bill, pass the law. So we begin to ask ourselves, where is this dichotomy? Where do we have the friction? Where are the areas, where are the gray areas that is causing us to have the disunity, so to say? 3 areas I've identified. Number one is the people, the drivers of religion itself, both whether they are Muslims or Christians or traditional religion, the drivers of the religion. Because the knife, I keep saying the knife is not a bad thing, but who uses the knife? The surgeon uses the knife to save a life, while the assassin uses the knife to kill a life. So religion is like the knife. It is the user of the knife that determines the aim of the use of the knife. And this is Christmas, for instance. The Christians are together. Many Muslim brothers are felicitating and congratulating. I've received messages from imam friends of mine as a Christian clergy. They have called me and we're living in peace, so to say. So I want to believe that it is the politicization of religion. In other words, the using of religion, the weaponizing of religion as a major tool in political arenas. Religion has been weaponized by our politicians. And this is the area we have to consider in this studio. Like you hear the imam speaking, I've featured with the imam severally on many programs in Kaduna and Kano. He knows me very well, even here on NTA Live. Why are we not fighting? Because nobody's behind us. It is the rider of the horse that determines where the horse goes. So the policymakers must consider again, what do we do to convince our politicians? A lot of our politicians are neither Muslims or Christians. That you answer Christian or you go to church to do Thanksgiving does not guarantee that you have received Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Same thing with Muslims. A lot of the people who practice Islam are not as worded. Look at how the imam is speaking comparatively and speaking peacefully. So people who are the people practicing the religion are the one causing the friction in the system. So we call for more dialogue and more understanding of the books. Many people that fight with the other religion don't really understand the book. And I believe that at this point we can provide a solution.
Indeed, you said religion has been weaponized in Nigeria and the divide is becoming bigger as time goes on. But we all know that this administration is trying to say that we cannot move forward if we don't come together, irrespective of religion, ethnicity, or tribe. As Nigerians, if we come together through dialogue, having conversation, this country can develop. And now this government is coming out with a lot of reforms. And I would like to know how our leaders are able to raise awareness, create education for the people to really understand what government is all about.
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe when I was in the villa, the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, will always say to us that I am up there, but you pastors, you imam, you are closer to the grassroots. And he always refers to the fact that we are the ones that are best positioned to communicate all these policies. And I believe we are doing our best. And we need more connection, more collaboration with the government to ensure that the more of these policies that we have the more we can share with the members, because it's very, you hear the president or you hear the governor once in a while, but every Friday, the imam is listened to, possibly even more than a day, twice or three times a week I'm being listened to. So we are closer, as the former president has said, but we need more collaboration. We need to be carried along. There needs to be more communication, you know, because we are ready. The fact is, the joy of the people that we lead is the joy of the nation and is the joy of the president, because we are his tools, we are his hands, we are the tools and the hands of the government, of the governor, of the local government chairman to reach these people. So we are ready, we are willing, we are ready to do as much as possible, but we need more collaboration. We need more information passed on to us. And I'm sure that if we do this synergy together, we will be able to achieve more and drive Nigeria forward and achieve more for the administration than we can imagine.
You've raised some pertinent issues there. Imam Ashafa, I would like to come to you. And, you know, you're part of the mediation team that talk to people, that encourage people. And sustainable development is key to the growth of any nation. And people need to understand that without development, a nation cannot move anywhere. And as the direct contact of people, in between people and government, what efforts have been doing to ensure that peace continues to reign, especially in some volatile areas that we know in this country?
I think thank you very much for this important thing. Just I'll write on what my colleagues have said. The key important thing is I want to look at the two issues. We are putting our best, then the politicization of religion and weaponization of religious processes become another important factor that is setting us backward. When we look at some of our nations, let's look at three nations that have developed with something with Nigeria: Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore. We always rise at the same time. We are winning from the big mother British Empire then. And each one of them have a metaphor, a mantra that drive the process of their nation building. For example, Indonesia during Sukarno, he has what we call the Pancasila, which are based on 5 principles. Those principles are principles that drive the country process. It move around ideological basis for the nation to move forward. That principle of Pancasila is a key principle that put God in the center, then the family, which is humanity, then international cooperation, then the issue of social justice and democracy come into play. These principles are the drivers. Every nation, anything they do, they look at, is it in line with God? That's Indonesia. Number 2, is it to the betterment of humanity? Number 3, are there principles of social justice and inclusiveness within? And then finally, so they look at this principle, which are the driving force. And if you look at, and the next nation you look is Malaysia. Malaysia also developed a strategic framework of engagement, to which we saw Malaysia that we used to come here like a beggar nation, help me to grow. We help Malaysia become what it becomes by giving her the seeds. So the leadership, they put the nation first. They see the nation as a family heritage. That we inherit it and we must keep it for our children. It's not for us. Our forefather gave it to us. I was talking to a Malaysian when I went there. I say, this is a nation that was given to us by our parents, give to their as a trust for their grandchildren. And we must hand over to their grandchildren, who will hand over to our own grandchildren. So therefore, are Nigerians seeing Nigeria as a heritage? That is a family value, that it is a must for us to protect it. You can look at Singapore. They have onesingapore.com, onesingapore.org. And that's One Singapore is a slogan that goes across Singapore as a mantra. Anything Singapore first. Anything that will happen, Singapore should come first. But in 1967 to 69, Singapore is a very, very poor, wretched nation. One of the poorest countries. But when they put the country first, instead of putting themselves first, then the nation moves. Can we put our country first, ahead of us? Can our religious leaders make our political actors and the businessmen, not only the politician alone, and the business to be what we call written issues of our scripture. Because once upon a time, somebody asked Aisha, the wife of the prophet, he says, how can we know Muhammad? So you want to know Muhammad? Yes. What is he? What is he? He said, Muhammad, look at the Quran. Muhammad is a living Quran. It's a Quran in action. Today, the challenge we have is for us to be written epistles of our nation. Each one to live say. And as long as we are able to live say, to learn to say no to what is not, even though I'm hungry, but to learn to say I won't eat what is not mine. To learn to say that. To learn to say, you bring offering for me. This zakat, where do you get it from? 4 years ago, you are a poor, wretched boy. You just have political appointment and you are given zakat of million. No, go back with your zakat, I'm not taking it. Go back with your tithe, we are not taking your tithe in our church, in our mosques. By the time we start doing this, then the nation, people will know that we are able to move forward. Because this is the key important dividing line. And I feel that as religious leaders, we must learn to say no, no matter what the consequences. Then with the national rebirth has to come to play. And in national rebirth, it's not a political thing. It's a spiritual, cultural, social, religious movement. And that's why we saw Indonesia, Mahathir, even though when he left, they still beg him, please come back and help us keep this nation together again. You are the father of the nation, but please come. And that's why we can see in Mahatma Gandhi, when Gandhi ruled India, well, he's not ruling India, when he facilitated the process, he's not a political leader. He's a spiritual leader. Yes. But he facilitated the process that gave birth to what we call modern India today. Though unfortunately we call India, Pakistan, but he gave his life for that nation to be itself. So what I'm saying is that if Nigeria won't survive, we must have a mantra. We must have an ideological framework. Once upon a time we say, one Nigeria, one destiny. Yes. We use that mantra. So, but today, what is the mantra that we have? And how much are we seeing Nigeria as a heritage? I think there's a need for Nigerian, for all of us to come together. Because it's not about the North versus the South. We are all the members of the same one family under God.
Indeed, one family under God. Bishop Akpami, what is the mantra? What are we doing? Are we doing enough to sort of bridge the divide and create a sense of shared space and purpose here?
Thank you very much. Obviously, we are not doing enough. We're not doing enough for humanity. We're not doing enough for ourselves. Now, Scripture would tell us that love is the greatest. And you see, one thing about love is that it is selfless. Love puts others ahead of themselves. Love promotes and projects others, even if it was at their own expense. And so if we love our neighbors like Scripture advocates as ourselves, this nation will definitely be a lot better. And in fact, another portion of Scripture says that we should love as Christ loves us. And the love of Christ is sacrificial. I mean, that's why during Christmas he left his throne in glory and came down to earth. That is sacrifice. So if we begin to be more sacrificial, we begin to be more other people centered, obviously Nigeria will be the better for it. So we are not doing enough, and we need to do a lot more. This Christmas, for instance, it's a season that we should be able to wipe the tears of the poor masses. There are people that can do that can change the destinies of others. So why don't we take that bold step and come out and stand out and change people's lives and people's destinies? That's the essence of Christmas. That was why Jesus came, to impact on our destinies. Like the intro talked about, us changing darkness into light. He came with light, and we should be able to beam the light on others. We're not doing enough, and we should be able to beam the light, bring the love of Christ. We should be able to, imbibe the principles that would make Nigeria a righteous nation. Don't forget the fact that the Bible says righteousness exalts a nation. And so when you and I, every one of us, begin to do what is right, even when you are at the traffic light, you do what is right, even if nobody is looking
Which most people like to beat anyway.
Righteousness will exalt our land. So we need to do more of this.
Yes, righteousness will exalt our nation. Archbishop Imam Esang, it's a known fact that religious leaders are the conscience of any nation, and most of the time people listen more to religious leaders. Earlier you made a comment that politicians are sort of weaponized religion in Nigeria. Would you say there has been a lack in the moral values of this country that allowed the politicians to sneak in and, sort of change the psyche of Nigerians?
Yes, that's a very important question. Which politician? Is he coming from a family, that's a home? Is he coming from a church or a mosque, a religious center? Or is he coming from, or is he a product of a society? We need to answer that. Who is the responsible for the corruptive tendencies of our leadership, or people in leadership? Because until we deal with the issue of corruption, Imam talk about the examples of Indonesia, examples of Malaysia, Singapore. We've been having mantra, we've been having great orientation programs. So you see that Nigerians, for instance, are always blaming whoever is in leadership. That's good. But we lack these people that are ruling us. I ask a question. They are from a church or a mosque. And number two, they are from a society, a community, and they are from a family. So they share the responsibility. For the family, how many parents take responsibility of the moral decadence of their teenagers, for instance, or people in adolescence? How many parents? I mean, we even have a situation where there is no more discipline in school. The school are beating our children. You cannot discipline the children because they are going to withdraw them from your school. And this is for the need for public schools to be upgraded. And then, of course, as the politicians from a community, now you cannot even lock up people who are corrupt because their village, their local government will come after you. I mean, if I steal $30 billion now and go to my village and change the life of all the people in the village, buy them bags of rice, and of course I will be made, first of all, given a title. I will be given a chieftaincy title. And then my community will be protecting me. So if you come after me with DFCC, ICPC, my community will fight you. So not only religion and tribe and other nomenclatures have been the bane of our society. That's why as a religious leader, in a Christmas season like this, the messages we preach in church is not the messages only that tells the people they can prosper, they can live in peace. We also tell them about eternity. Both Islam and Christianity talks about eternity. So the preachers, the people who practice religion, should talk about eternity. For instance, if I have my way, political appointees should never go to church to do thanksgiving until at the end of their tenure. What are you thanking? If you appointed a federal minister, why do you go to do thanksgiving? What are you thanking God for? You need to finish the 4 years or the 2 years. Then we can know that you did not bring shame to the society, to the church, to the family. Then come and thank God. Then we know that you have impacted the lives of the people. I have another suggestion. Why should our political class swear by the Quran and swear by the Holy Bible? That can be stopped. I don't care whether it's in the Constitution or in the rule of the game. I don't believe that some of them are serious. They take up the Holy Bible, they take up the Holy Quran, they swear, go into the office and do exact opposite of what they swore. Maybe that's why we are in the country. Because you are swearing to an holy scripture and your lifestyle and your practices and idiosyncrasies are contradicting the tenets of those scriptures. So I think that can be stopped. People should lift their hand and pledge and not swear to the Quran or swear to the Bible, because many of them don't even go to the mosque. They don't go to the church. And many of the people that call themselves Christians or Muslims or religious people, like I said, have not experienced God. For instance, somebody confronted me and said, I saw another pastor did this. He could be a pastor of a church, but have you received Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? That experience is important as a message of Christmas. We cannot just say you are a Christian because you feel in your civil service form. It says, religion, Christian, tribe, Ibibio, or Anna, or Yoruba. So we must come down to the nitty-gritty of this discussion. We have national identities. We have things this nation has believed in. Remember the orientation programs and the Mansa? There have been several of these issues. It's not sinking down in the blood of Nigerians because the thing boils down to the family. The buck stops at parents. How many Nigerian parents can vouch for their children? So in this discussion, even though it's a religious discussion, on a Christmas Eve, we can also bring in the responsibility of parents, responsibility of teachers, and responsibility of society.
Indeed, Archbishop Imam Esong, you've raised a lot of issues that we'll get to discuss as the program progresses. But our guest in Ibadan is now ready, Reverend Israel Akanji, President of the Baptist Convention in Nigeria. He also served as senior pastor of the Baptist Church, Godlike, for 22 years. If you can hear me, you're welcome to Tuesday Live. And my question to you is, we all know that God created man in his image, but is our action godlike?
Very much. Thank you for Tuesday Live again and the discussions that are going on. I want to say that I concur with all the speakers there on many of the issues that they have raised. And to go straight to your question, God made man in his own image. And is our action godlike? Definitely, we know that, yes, when man was created in the image of God, man became disobedient to God, and therefore there was an estrangement between man and God. And through the period, prophets of God came, the laws of God came, and various attempts were made to bring a reconciliation between man and God so that man will live in the character of God. But all these attempts kept going on until the time when God sent his son, Jesus Christ, to come to the world. And 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 19 says, God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself. So the coming of Jesus to the world is actually to bring us back to God so that we will live in the character of God. The character of God, which is, of course, character of holiness, righteousness, character of love. So I've had people mention the issue of love, which is the character of God. The Bible tells us that God is love, and that he who abides in love abides in God and God in him. Therefore, one character of God that is missing in mankind is the character of love. Mankind is so selfish. People are very greedy, and they do not think of those things that concern other people. Many people think only of themselves, sometimes themselves, their families alone, and sometimes as it grows on in Nigeria, ethnic group alone, and then it goes on to be their religion alone. If a person calls himself a Christian and he wants to live in the character of God, there is no way he will love only his family. There is no way he will love only people of his tribe. There is no way he will love only people of his religion. Because the Bible tells us, love your neighbor as yourself. Your neighbor can be anybody. He can be of any religion. He can be of any ethnic group. This love is lacking in Nigeria. And I heard some of our speakers have spoken about our mantra as a nation. I believe that we have a mantra. Take our national anthem and see the content of the national anthem. It says, Nigeria will hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve a sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be the symbol that truth and justice reigns. In peace and battle, honor, and this we count as gain, to hand unto our children a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no one is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria will be blessed. Looking at our national anthem, if people don't just look at it as to sing to begin a program and to sing to end the program, if the content of the national anthem is part of our lives, we will discover that a lot of the ideals, that the philosophy of life is already built in that national anthem. We have a variety of people in Nigeria, north and south, east and west, tribes of many different tribes. But we say, though tribes and tongues may differ, we stand in brotherhood. That means Nigerians, in our mantra, we believe in one Nigeria. We are all brothers and sisters of one another. And people in the north should love people in the south. People in the south should love people in the north. People in the east should love people in the west. Love. That is the character of God, one character of God that we do not have. If we have love, we will not be selfish. We will not play one group against another. If we have love and we are in governance, we will care for everybody equally. Love will bring about justice. Love will bring about fairness. Love will bring about consideration of all people, which we are lacking in our government. Sometimes, once somebody is there, he just thinks of himself. He doesn't think of everybody. So, though tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. And then Nigerians also believe in God. Yes, we believe in God. And the God factor, that's why we said that, O God of all creation, grant this our one request, that we will build a nation where no one is oppressed. Do people really think about the words of our national anthem? In our coat of arms, we have peace, we have unity. These are things that are celebrated. So I believe that we must pick these philosophies ingrained in our national anthem. We must speak it out of the pages of the anthem and connect our lives to it. Our leaders must remember that the content of our national anthem is supposed to be a guide to us as a nation. So I believe that in terms of the character of God, we are failing. We are failing. We don't have enough love. In terms of the character of God, we are failing because we do not care enough for the poor. God cares for the poor. He wants us to care for the poor, to care for the needy, the widows, the motherless, the fatherless, the sick. These are the things that even Jesus said that when we come someday before him in judgment, he will ask us, I was hungry, you gave me no food. I was thirsty, you gave me no drink. I was naked, you did not clothe me. I was in prison, you did not visit me. And all these things. And then people will ask, when did that happen? You say, well, as long as you did not do it to those that lived with you, then you didn't do it for me. In other words, even doing these things, Jesus says they are for him you are doing when you take care of your neighbors. So in Nigeria, we lack love. We also lack discipline. And I had people mentioning the religious leaders. The religious leaders, they have a great role to really play in us to come to the character of God. That is their basic function. Religious leaders, more than any other leaders, they have opportunities to meet with the people. Every Sunday, every Friday, religious leaders meet with people. And the people will come on their own. You don't need to even advertise before they come. The religious leaders have holy books from where they minister. The religious leaders minister to men, to women, to children, to adults. They minister to the educated, the uneducated, the leaders in the society, and those that are led. And religious leaders are important. When a child is born, they bring them. They are the ones that will name the child. When a child will marry, it's religious leaders. And when a person dies, it is religious leaders that will be brought. So these religious leaders are closer than even political leaders, closer than all other leaders to the people. And they meet all kinds of people. And therefore, if they should inculcate the character of God, the care for humanity, the love for your neighbor, love your neighbor as yourself, do unto others as you will want others to do unto you. All these things, if they're there, definitely we're going to build a better society. And I want to leave it at that and encourage parents to begin from the home. The family is the smallest unit of the society. If you teach your children to love their neighbors, to respect their neighbors, to be disciplined, to behave well, everybody comes from a family. When parents do their work and carry out their roles, definitely our society is going to change. Because many people who are adults, they keep that which their parents taught them from childhood. They keep it. And they make these things the principles of life. If, as a father and mother, you teach your children that others are important, don't be greedy. Make sure you do things right. Be disciplined. We will have a better society and we will develop our nation in love and unity.
Thank you so much, Reverend Akanji. I like the way you broke down the national pledge and the national anthem there, showing Nigerians that it is not just written, it is something that we should act upon. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you as the conversation continues. And don't forget, usually on Tuesday Live, we have reports coming in from across the country. And the first report is from Sokoto.
Saku State, a predominantly Muslim state in Nigeria, has achieved a remarkable level of peace and harmony among its diverse population, comprising Muslims and Christians. Despite their differences, people of different religions have learned to coexist peacefully, fostering a strong sense of community and mutual respect. The remarkable harmony among the faiths in Sokoto can be attributed to several key factors, including respect for traditional institutions, fostering a culture of tolerance and understanding, interfaith dialogue and cooperation, enabling constructive exchange and collaboration between Muslims and Christians, as well as cultural exchange and education.
We form different fora, we meet together, we share an issue of importance, such like during Ramadan, we conduct iftar, that is the Ramadan breakfast with the people of different faiths, with the people of different ethnicity. And we participate in the Christmas to rejoice with our Christian brothers.
We've been living very peaceful in Sokoto. You can see we have places like Sahara, dominantly these are Igbos. And I respect that Sokoto is 90% or let me say 99% Muslim, but everybody is peaceful.
Secretary of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Saku State Chapter, Ayuba Matthew, attributes the enduring peace in the state to the harmonious coexistence between Muslims and Christians, adding that Sokoto has avoided conflicts, and the peaceful atmosphere is a testament to the strong bonds between people of different faiths.
I crave on our indulgence, both Christians and Muslims, to live in peace. This is what will bring about our progress, our development, and our increase, even as a nation and as a people.
Professor Isa Muhammad Maishano of the Department of Sharia Studies at Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, notes that the peaceful coexistence in Sokoto is deeply rooted in Islamic teachings.
As long as there is no reason for you to attack someone who has not attacked respect you, then there will nothing of insecurity will happen in our normal way, day-to-day activities.
By promoting dialogue, understanding, and cooperation amongst people of different faiths, this is demonstrating that peaceful coexistence is possible even in the face of adversity. In Sokoto, Abdullah Omar Ilalu.
The next report is from Enugu.
Religious institutions and practices bring different people together in common fellowship. This act promotes social cohesion and a strong sense of brotherhood. Religion provides a moral framework that guides individuals' collective behavior with emphasis on honesty, forgiveness, charity, love, and fairness.
This is a universal message. It doesn't cut across any denomination. It is trans-denominational. It is for everybody, for as many as receive him and agree that they have sinned and they believe him with their heart. A practicing Muslim, a traditionalist, an atheist, you will have eternal life.
It has over the years played vital roles in conflict resolution through peaceful dispute resolution and tribal reconciliation. Membership of religious faith opens up an avenue for help when in need and offers an opportunity for interaction on issues of burden.
That God has said, we are united under God. One God, one nation, one God. When we have one nation, one God, then everybody will now be conscious of that God. And everybody will be conscious of what that God has said. Everybody will be conscious of the influence of that one God.
Let's live, at peace. Let's live, with peace with one another. And as a unifying force, I am also saying that if you check the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation, even the time Jesus came that the four gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, recorded, you see that the message of Jesus, even practically when he was here on earth, was how to foster unity.
Whatever religious faith it is, the core values center on virtues enshrined in peace, unity, forgiveness, and brotherly love. In Enugu, Chiegonu Aro.
Peace, security, love, brotherly love, empathy for one another is the driving force of any religion across the world as it's being practiced by humans. And coming back into this conversation, Bishop Michael Akpami, we've been listening to this report talking about how we can bring peace in making sure that this country is stable at any point in time. But, we need to understand also and devise ways of encouraging the younger generation. Most of this younger generation that we have these days are in a hurry to get to where I actually don't know, They're always in a hurry to achieve, always in a hurry, they're always in a hurry. The word patience, which has been preached in all the holy books, doesn't seem to exist to them. And when you ask them this question, they tell you, you are talking to me now because you've experienced a better Nigeria. What is it I have gained from a Nigeria that today, the moment I was born, I didn't even know there was anything good about this country? So as people of faith, closer to the people, how do you begin to tell them that the sacrifice we give to the nation will also help in having a stable nation for them to enjoy? Don't you think?
Absolutely. And you mentioned the fact that the youth are always in a hurry.
Yes.
And the reason is because there's no example to follow, unfortunately.
How is that?
Because they don't see process of development for people to emulate. We have many of the those in the panel, they have talked about how family unit, how you train people. You see, by nature, we are creatures who learn by what we see, not necessarily by what we hear. Because you could preach from now to tomorrow, these youth, they are looking at your action. They are looking at whether you are living what you are saying. And they are very smart. They are called the AI generation. You know, they know that what it doesn't add up. What you are preaching, you are saying you are sacrificing, but we are not saying the sacrifice. And they are seeing many get away with what they feel should be punished. You know, I want to talk briefly on the fact that, you know, I think Archbishop Itong mentioned eternity.
Yes.
He's preached all the religion. And I think many people have forgotten the fact that there's judgment coming. There's judgment coming. There's judgment coming for every of your action, irrespective of who you are. We have a pseudo judgment in terms of the government, in terms of our civil society. But many times people can circumvent it. Like Archbishop mentioned, you get so much money, you develop your community. Even your community will prevent you from facing judicial discipline. But when it comes to God, whether you are Pope, whether you are Reverend, whether you are Imam, whether you are President, Governor, you are going to stand alone. And there's nobody that is going to be there to say, oh, God, I mean, who is going to withstand God? So I believe that the youths have not seen example. And some of these examples have also been in the absence of discipline, you know, because the youth are somehow, they are in discipline now. You can't tell them, follow this path, because the act of discipline, you know, when we go to school, when you're studying in the college, you know, the first thing they tell you is that you have registered for a course, and that course is called a discipline. It's a process you have to follow. And you follow it 4 years, 5 years, depending on what it is. And you follow it rigorously. But what do we see? Do we see discipline in our society? And once there's no discipline, we talk about, you mentioned how there's traffic light, but it's broken. It's disobeyed. We talk about many things. We talk about rules. Archbishop talk about people swearing. You swear.
With the holy books.
With the holy books. And you do contrary, and nothing, and you escape the judgment of the civil society, but you won't escape the judgment of God. And so I believe if we could, as religious leaders, start reminding people that, hey, you can escape judgment here. Oh. You can escape judgment here. Oh. You can buy your way anywhere here, but you can't buy God. Nobody can buy God. And God is good. I mean, check the Bible. The most powerful king, kings that are elected now. Nebuchadnezzar. This man ruled over 127 countries. God humbled him. Said, I'm God, I can judge you. And I think as religious leaders, as political leaders, as youths, whoever we are, as mothers, wives, as Nigerian citizens, if we come back to introspect and realize whatever we do today, there's a payback coming, serious payback. And that's the essence of Christ, which is somehow, a bit, we talk about love. Jesus came for love. But you know, sometimes people that you feel that God must punish, but once they come into Christ, He forgives them. Yes. But the fact is, if you fail to come into Christ and change your ways, you will face the judgment of God.
Indeed, God is all forgiving,
yeah.
But you know,
but He's still a judge.
It's still a judge, and we will also have to face Him at a point in time. Imam Ashafa, let me come to you now. You know, we all know that the past year has sort of been tough for Nigerians, and we begin to appreciate the resilience of Nigerians, the patience of Nigerians to different reforms that has been dished out by the Tinubu administration, and is saying these reforms are for you. It is pro-poor. What are our religious leaders doing at the religious centers when they preach to tell people that these reforms, like you said, the tax reforms is not going back on it, but it is open for negotiation. And I believe all the religious leaders and traditional leaders will be involved in that negotiation. What role do you think our religious leaders should play to encourage and educate people on the tax reforms? Because we've seen, you go to Saudi Arabia, you see that every year, you know, the tax reform there is going on. What they are seeing, the money they are paying as tax, they are seeing it on ground. Most Nigerians will say, you're telling us to pay tax? What are you going to do with it? We've been paying tax, but we've not been seeing anything. So what role would religious leaders play in creating awareness for people to pay their tax? It matters, don't you think?
Absolutely, it is a very, very important thing. To us in Islam, everything is worship. One of the mistakes many people made is looking at religion from the elementary level. Elementary is washing our hands, washing our feet, and going to say our 5-time daily prayers. Fasting in the month of Ramadan, giving alms to the poor. That's what they see as religiosity. They didn't see that their primary level, the higher level of religiosity is ability to touch the other person and to touch it more positively. Ability to engage the others, to bring hope and succor to the other people. What is the purpose of government? It's about welfare and sense of security for the citizen. That is what it is. And anything the government is going to do, anything, as long as the outcome is to bring us sense of security, sense of succor, sense of comfort, that is welcome delivery. And of course, the packages with the Mr. President now is a package that, yes, to every wound, to heal the wound, you need to brush to clean up the dust. And in clean up the dirt, if it is deep,
you must feel pain.
You must feel the pain.
Yes.
And that pain we are feeling now, I hope and pray, is a pain of just some few moments of time. Not the 15 years. Somebody come and say, no, it will go for 15 years.
That's the World Bank.
So those guys who are saying 15 years, they don't mean well for the president or for the country at all. But what I believe in, and I told my people, because they asked, Madam, look at them. You are saying we should have patience. And they are saying 15 years. We will have died before then. I say, you are not going to die. Those who are saying 15 years are separate. They are giving advice. Yes. But Mr. President, with his wisdom, he knows what to do to make sure that it didn't take to 15 good years before we get out of this trap. So that is one. And secondly, which is very important for us to know, is that as leaders, just Mr. Akaji,
yes,
I make a reference to a key point that is synonymous within the two faiths. This chapter, this episode, Mr. Akanji Isaac make a reference to, of saying there's a day is coming when God will look at some people in their face, they fasted, they pray, they perform Hajj, they do pilgrimage, they do everything. But God will say, I don't know them. They build beautiful mosques and churches. God will say, I don't know them. When will that be? Why should God say he doesn't know them? Because that immediate neighbor who is suffering, who is hungry, he couldn't feed him. That immediate neighbor who is going naked, is cold now. Everybody is looking for something cold, but he has nothing to cover his nakedness. He's not there for him. That neighbor who is sick, whose children are driven out of school, who retires as a pensioner, what he's getting now is not enough to take care of his basic need, talk less of his family. He knows he has the ability to help. He didn't help him. God is going to reject them. We have Hadith Qudsi. It's called Hadith Qudsi. And in some narration, there's a see there on other narration that says that on that day, Allah will tell them, he will ask them, have I not come to you when I'm hungry? You refuse to give me food? Have I not come to you when I'm naked? You refuse to cover my nakedness. Have I not come to you when I'm sick? You refuse to help me out. And the servant will say, oh Allah, on the day of majesty, that day, you see all of us will lie down before the majesty throne, where there's no any lawyer to defend you. It is your attitude, your action that will defend you on that day. Then he's going to ask him, when have I done this? God, when are you sick? When are you hungry? He said, when those people of mine, when those vulnerable people come to your doorsteps, you didn't take care of them. Today, I don't know you. You lost the face of God. That important message that for a Muslim, even if you perform Hajj, look at it. The Bible, in Islam, in the Christian tradition, for Bishop, I want you to help me, it says, when you bring your altar to God, and in your heart you have a clash with your brother or your neighbor, God doesn't need your altar, doesn't need your sacrifice. Go and settle your dispute with your neighbor. Yeah. And the same thing applies in Islam. If you go to Hajj, you can't perform Hajj, la jidala wa la fusuku fi Hajj, and you have a clash with your brother, and you think your Hajj is unacceptable. These are similarities of message that bind us together. What I'm saying is that we refuse to be a living epistles. For example, one of the important things we need to do with our children, yes, we have failed, because majority of us have failed to live by what we are the golden age. People who are born from 1950, 1960 to 1980, they are the golden eggs of Nigeria, because we have the best of education.
They were the boom generation.
We have the best of civilization. We have the best of support here and there. And those 40 years in the middle of that period, those who are born within those period of years, before the next 30 years here now, those are the golden age because you have everything. But I'm surprised to see a father slapping a teacher in the classroom because he beat his child. Going to school, threatening the school because you punish my child. I see, where did they get this from?
Also paying teachers to upgrade their children.
And then going to have miracle centers, creating miracle centers. One day, one of my child went to a school. He wanted to do exams, WAEC. So they say this school do exam. The center where it's going, they don't have WAEC center. They say they're going to pay 75,000. This one they're paying 45. I said, why the difference between 45 and 75? He say, no, that one, the teachers know how to settle, And my sister, my cousin was telling me, they know how to settle them. That's why if you say 75,000, you are guaranteed that your jam won't come out neat. Go to the one that is going to fail. Let him fail and receipt. I will pay for receipt.
And continue until it passes.
And what is happening is that those children who go with fake results, they go to university, they bribe the lecturers, also the fake lecturer. And then he come back as a qualified medical doctor. I remember a story. He come back as a qualified doctor. One day, the professor who passed him as a medical doctor, he is sick, on a sick bed. And then everybody say they are waiting for the specialist to come. And when the doctor was waiting, everybody was waiting. When the specialist appeared, the guy that he knows that he didn't pass the exam, he just passed him to kill people with license of a medical doctor. He said, no, I don't want it, he said. And the other time he has a stroke, he can't talk. The guy, he has to cry out to say that he's a fake doctor, he doesn't accept him.
The chicken has come home to roast.
So the chicken has come back roast to do what? To roast. To roast. So this is the price we are paying. And most of what is happening today, we are paying a price for those consequences of our action. And I'm appealing to fellow Nigerians to say, we need to see what do we do with our youth. This generation Gen Z, or whatever they call this generation, they call us analog generation. We are analog.
Yes, we're analog, yes.
No, Juma is a young girl.
I'm analog too.
So we are analog. What I'm trying to say is that for Nigeria to move, to catch up with other nations who we started together and go ahead of them. Because if Nigeria succeed, many say Africa succeed.
That's right.
And for Nigeria to succeed, as Africa to succeed, Nigeria to succeed, we have to do something. The president has to have a special focus. That's why I appreciate when he choose the youngest, the Minister of Education, Minister of Youth, to be a young man who understands the language of his colleagues. I will speak the language to them. I'm feeling strongly, for us to succeed, there must be a special focus on our children. And it's not about, they talk about Child Right Act. Child Right Act in which context? Is it in African context, in our cultural, social context, or in the cultures of others, our friends and neighbors? We need to get to that, very important. And that's why I'm saying for Nigerians to succeed, we have to move from consumption, the 4 C's, consumption to what? To conservation. Because we are just eating. From consumption to conservation. And from conservation, we have to move to what? To collaboration. And for collaboration and partnership to be effective, we must have effective communication. We are not speaking. Up to today, we are not communicating with one another, between us and the leadership. Religious leaders, political leaders, religious leaders, traditional leaders, religious leaders, business groups. These are businessmen, maximum profit at the expense of minimum happiness.
Imam Ashafa. Let's bring in Bishop Michael Akwami into this conversation. We are not talking enough, he said. Where do we begin to talk?
The language of our people.
Yes. What language do Nigerians want to understand?
Well, the fact of the matter is there's so much hunger in the land. Thank God for the efforts of the government. But one language Nigerians want is for us to be able to communicate with them that we are a responsible government. To be able to communicate with them that we have them at heart. To be able to communicate with them that this phase that we're passing through will not last forever. And while communicating with them, to take practical steps in alleviating the problems and challenges of the society. So Nigerians want to hear the language of relief. They want to hear the language of succor. Nigerians want to hear the language of interventions. That's one positive. We've heard of people that went to collect food items, and there were stampedes, and people lost their lives, unfortunately, and because of the hunger in the land. But I will not just put it to the government. There are those that are blessed in this nation that can do a lot to impact on the lives of ordinary citizens. There are those that have been blessed that can set up industries, employ the younger ones. Like we all know, Nigerians are hardworking, they're industrious. If you create the enabling environment for them, I mean, I grew up in the north, Katsina, Daura, Maiduguri, Zaria. And I know in those days we used to have working functional industries.
Yes, indeed.
But can't we revive those industries? If we have well-meaning Nigerians that will create that environment, put our younger ones, or create an opportunity for the younger ones. The youths, if you give them the opportunity, they are very creative.
Yes, definitely they can excel. I have to pause you there, the conversation is getting quite interesting. I will have to bring in Archbishop Imam Esang. You've been listening to what the guests here in the studio are talking about. Nigerians contributing to national development, not always expecting government to do what they expect government to do. Because I remember J.F. Kennedy saying, don't ask what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Are we a contributing factor to the present situation that the country is in?
Bringing me the situation we are in Nigeria right now needs for us to be open, not hypocritical. We need to be open as a people, not passing the buck to government, nor even the government trying to pass the buck to the citizens. There are short-term, medium-term, and long-term things to do. We are in a state of emergency because we are seeing the distribution of palliatives and handouts. These things were only found post-Civil War, post-World War, and now it's happening in our time. It's a very rare signal to economic analysts. Any economic analyst, you see people sharing rice, sharing indomie, sharing akara, sharing bread, and people are even dying, like one of the contributors said. This is an emergency situation, and we must quickly adopt a short-term solution, and that solution will come from three. One, from the government. The government, the federal government, has passed a local government independent law. Therefore, each of the 774 local government chairmen are chief executive of our rural communities, and they are holding mega budgets. I don't want to mention, they are mega. So mega that a local government chairman now, it's almost like a governor of some states. And so we could, like one of the speakers said, bring in a compulsory addendum. We can ask, we can adjust the law to say every of the 774 local government must, within the limit of the resources available to them, raw material available and resources available, establish a cottage industry that will limit the rural urban migration. We will engage our youth and, of course, activate employment. And that is an emergency situation, because we don't want to be seeing too many local government chairmen in the EFCC course studies if they can take this advice. And the second thing, to the citizens, like one of us said, we're talking about Christmas. We are back to the discussion of Christmas. What is Christmas? Talk about the love of God. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. So we're talking about the time of love. Nigerians must learn to become good neighbors to themselves, because as it were, we are going to look at each other's shoulder and we're going to check each other's. Remember those days when we grew up, it was not really only your parents that were watching over you. People's uncles and parents were uncles and parents to their neighbors. So we have to extend that love that Jesus brought, that love that the Son of God brought. I made a statement somewhere. I said, imagine if a Friday or a Saturday is declared Neighbors Day in Nigeria. What is Neighbors Day? That means everyone that can afford, that has the wherewithal, look around your neighborhood and change 10 to 20 lives, depending on their capacity. I can change more than that. You can change more than 10, 20 lives. If we are 200 million Nigerians, within every weekend, something will go around. Now, the situation of stampede shows also that Nigerians are getting apprehensive and they're getting restive, and social tension, of course, less of education and the lack of managerial skills among our leaders. So we have to come back to ourselves as a nation, talk to ourselves, and the government should share responsibility. Nigerians should share responsibility. Creation of job is very important for our teeming youth, because they say the idle hand is the devil's workshop. If the employment, if the production level is increased, of course, let's start from agriculture. Agricultural activities increase, it will give us raw material to go into production activity. If production activity increases, it will cause employment of our teeming youth. The education will have value. And of course, the youth will have less of social tension. Some of them are the political thugs that are turned to kidnappers and turned to armed robbers and turned to, they become thorns in our flesh as a nation. And so a nation that plan for the in now and now eating of our politicians and looking fat and robust and driving all kinds of expensive cars will not go further until we look at this. I don't know whether we still call them the leaders of tomorrow. We can even change their name to become the leaders of today, because the leaders of tomorrow that we knew yesterday have become adults today, and they're still sitting in the house. So we have to increase economic activity at local government and state level, at federal level, so that our youth can get employed, they'll be active, and crime will reduce, and social tension will reduce.
Archbishop Imam Esang, you know, our youths need to be engaged, and idle man is the devil's workshop. Reverend Israel Akanji, let's have your thoughts on that.
Thank you very much. I want to speak on the need for inclusiveness in governance. I know that religious leaders, Christian leaders, Muslim leaders, they are sometimes brought and included in the issues of governance. I want to explain what happened during COVID. During COVID in Abuja, stakeholders were brought together. Christian leaders, Muslim leaders, and then the government met with us, explained all the problem that we had as COVID. They mentioned things that we needed to be doing in our places of worship, both in the church and in the mosque. And then, as the government spoke with leaders, the leaders went and met with their various groups and spoke with other leaders under them. From there, these instructions went to our churches and went to our mosques on how people should conduct themselves during COVID. Even though, yes, we didn't have 100% compliance, we had a very high rate of compliance because people listened to the government. And I believe that that can be a model to help concerning issues going on in the country. When there are difficulties, the government can have meetings with religious leaders, traditional rulers, other stakeholders, and explain to them this is what is happening. In fact, some of these things that we are bringing, these reforms we are bringing, this is what we mean by the reforms. Can you now take this message again down to your own people and try to explain to them? Because there is a gap between the leaders and the led. And sometimes the leaders have very good intentions, but because there is no communication, somebody comes in between and begins to miscommunicate, to misinterpret what the leaders are thinking of. Therefore, this issue of bringing stakeholders for meetings should not be only a fire brigade approach when there is a problem. It should be ongoing when something new is coming. Let us begin by bringing stakeholders together, and they will help to distribute and cascade the news downwards. I also have seen the usefulness of this in the FCT concerning security. The security of the FCT for many years was not handled by the people in security alone. The minister of the FCT will call for a meeting. There you will have the police, you have the army, the civil defense, you have other paramilitary organizations will be there. But then the religious leaders were there. The traditional rulers were also there. And therefore, together we discussed security matters. And if there were steps they were taking, they shared with us. So the traditional rulers will go back to their local governments and tell their people, these are things that the government is doing. And then the church leaders and the people from the mosque, they will go down and explain to them. In that way, we didn't have gaps concerning security issues in the FCT. So I believe that this method of including others will help the government to be able to translate its thoughts, its actions to the people, and there wouldn't be this estrangement between people and government who will always misinterpret what the government has. I like somebody there also want to believe that yes, short-time pain and long-time gain is expected for any society that we develop.
Yes, indeed, Reverend Akanji, yes, I believe. Indeed, Reverend Akanji, I believe collaborative effort is very, very important to It's very, very important. We need to take a break now. When we return, we'll be having the conversation being joined by phone calls, and the number is there displayed on your screen. You can contribute to the conversation. But remember, please, a hello is just enough, and then tone down the audio of your TV so that you can be audible. We'll take a break. When we return, Tuesday Live will continue. Don't go away.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, with undying demand. We bet solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Each ethnicity is unique, we have more than just a nation. We are Nigeria, strengthening unity, we know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA. NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
You're watching NTA Tuesday Live. Also, after the break, the phone lines are open. You can call in to contribute to this conversation. But now, before that, we'll be taking a report from Jos.
Religion is a belief in a worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially a god or gods. Divine perspective in religion is said to be the perspective that God gives to humans, allowing them to know things as they are. These religious leaders opine that religion as a system should focus on the inherent unity of all creation.
As a Christian, those beliefs and practices are rooted in God. They are not based on any man's philosophy or man's determination or what he wants to do.
They note that the pursuit of spiritual growth through following divine principles, often revealed through prophets or spiritual teachings, leads to the goal of living in accordance with the divine will.
Of course, religion is one of the key roles to be played in keeping peace in the society, because religion is very sensitive, and Nigeria is tagged the first in terms of abiding or adhering to religion.
It is expected that if we believe in God, irrespective of our faith, we should be able to worship that God in truth and in spirit. By so doing, we should be able to bring that faith into practice, to be able to bring peace, love and harmony and mutual respect among ourselves.
Key aspects of divine principles such as truth, human limitations, focus on intentions, love and compassion, they say can promote peace and unity across divides.
If we say we are followers of the Lord Jesus Christ, who himself prayed for the unity of people, and we are busy planting seed of discord, of division, raising walls of division here and there, then definitely we show that we are not his followers.
We have to question our adherence to the rules and regulations of our religion, and also to celebrate this festive period peacefully.
Irrespective of where you come from, you are celebrating with your brothers. You are not celebrating with animals. That will bring a sense of love, sense of unity, and sense of respect and joy.
They unanimously call for the promotion of peace and unity, especially during this period for national development. In Jos, Bilkisu Nuhu.
Thank you so much, Bilkisu. And we have our first caller this evening. He's Mohammed from Borno. Mohammed, you can go ahead.
Good evening, Jumai. Good evening, Ashafa. Good evening, the other men of God.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
This is the best children I've ever seen, I've had in my life. If just what these people are saying are true Nigerians, we really have new hope in Nigeria. Two different religions, but they are talking towards the same God. Honestly speaking, is very inspiring. What I want to talk about here is the tax reform. This tax reform, nobody is running away from this tax reform. But you elect somebody now. For example, now you elect a member of House of Reps or Senator. You see him with only, he doesn't have even a car. Just after 2 months, you will see him flying, building houses, doing this and that. He's doing this thing for the tax these people are doing. That is our fear. But everything that we have people that are ready to work for this country. If these people here can talk like this, I believe we have a good Nigeria one day. So I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. I really respect what these people are doing here. And I hope we are going to unite irrespective of religion, irrespective of tribe and state. That's very good, honestly. I'm happy to see this. Yeah, very, very happy. I'm inspired. It's very inspiring, honestly. These are men of God. If people like you can be leaders, Nigeria will be a very good Nigeria.
Indeed, Mohammed, thank you so much. And your phone call ushered in the Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all here in the studio. Merry Christmas to Nigerians. Yes.
International viewers, Merry Christmas.
Indeed. Pastor, let's talk about action plan.
Yeah.
Changing the narrative, changing the thinking of Nigerians. Because we've had Reverend Akanji talked about, misinterpreting the scriptures to, satisfy their own intentions on how they want to rule this country. So what do you think should be the action plan towards turning Nigeria back to the Nigeria we used to know before?
Well, thank you very much. And I believe, like I mentioned the last time, exemplary life. The action must start from you. The caller that spoke talked about the fact that if we could talk like this and behave like this, it must start from us. Yes. It must start from Mr. President. It must start from Vice President. It must start from governors. It must start from the National Assembly. That's the action plan, because somebody mentioned the fact that, I think talking about the local government chairman.
I'll pause you there. We have Jato from Benue calling. Okay. Jato, if you can hear me, you can go ahead. Merry Christmas, compliments of the season.
Compliments of the season too. Good day, all of you.
Good day to you.
I'm very impressed in this your program. The fact is that the president has tried actually, because some policies, some plan, I need to put into head. If you enable us if at all it progress, then we can continue. But if at all it fails, we can also source for maybe other means. Tax is compulsory, because out of this tax, so many things will come to be in terms of infrastructure and otherwise. So what is there is that we'll have a huge very creative in terms of maybe hardworking and other things doing. But the fact is that they lack capital. Empowerment is very important. The government needs to see in respect to the issue of empowerment. Because if somebody has something is going to embark on now, without capital, how will the person go about it? And our religion leaders should also try and be at least preaching a sermon to their subjects in respect to peace and harmony in our country. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So just continue so before we go to...
So if I may conclude, we've mentioned the fact that there are times when religion, tribe is weaponized. So the action plan is, at those critical times, are we ready to live the way we have preached? Am I ready? Is Imam ready to ensure that? Because we're all going to have divergent views. The fact that we want unity does not mean all our views will be the same. But we must disagree to agree. And we must agree at that which will move our nation forward. We have talked about development, peace. So we need to come together and say, oh, this thing, we will not support this leader. We will not support this person that is trying to weaponize us. That's the action plan. Because every time we are called to take that action, we fail. That's why it's like we go around a vicious circle. But if he could take that stand, I could take that stand. They take it in Lagos, they take it in Sokoto, they take it in Jos, Maiduguri, everywhere. And everybody knows that there's a resolute decision to move, to take action, to follow unity, to follow peace, to follow sustainable development. I mean, people will respect us.
Indeed. Imam Ashraf.
I think one of the most important practices is what we are doing in my organization. For example, my foundation works in collaboration with the church. There's Restoration Ministry International, which belongs to Reverend Tunde Bolanta. His ministry, Tunde Bolanta, and my Ashafa Mosque Foundation with the Central Mosque, we collaborate to produce medical relief. Because medical tourism, there are many vulnerable groups who cannot travel anywhere for medical aid. Yeah. We give medical support. We give food, feeding the poor, the needy, the vulnerable groups. We did that. And here in Abuja... I
also have to post you. We have Chinwedu calling from Abuja here. Yeah. Hello, Chinwedu. Compliments of the season.
Compliment of the season. Happy Christmas to my religious leader. I've been listening to what I've been saying. Of the truth, what I say is way forward for our country, our dear nation, Nigeria. Where I want to put my own input is the way forward as a youth of this country, our dear country. When they talk about providing industry for the youth so that we can have jobs, I've been telling people one idea I have that I believe that if our leader can just think towards that direction, things can move forward. There's no state in Nigeria that don't have what it takes to develop their states. Like one of our leaders says, the government needs to be close to the people. And the local government chairman are the people that are so close to the grassroots. We need to empower the local government. Let them use what they have from the local government to develop the villages. If President, my own village is developed, I will be in Abuja. What am I doing in Abuja? I'm paying house rent. Everything is hard. But when my village is developed, I will stay in my father's land and I will work and I will earn a living and I will develop my own village. So let us look towards that direction to develop our rural area. That is the most important thing. If we can get this, believe you me that this country will be a better place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chumidu.
So I say the imam and the pastor must be seen together, working together in supporting life of mine. So myself and Reverend Tunde Bodanta with his ministry, we are working together on that platform. And at intra level, I want to give a model, a kudo to Al Habibiyya Foundation here in Abuja, which feed thousands of people per day in Ramadan and throughout Ramadan. Now after Ramadan, they are doing a lot of initiatives like that. On my media engagement in Kaduna, we run a media program, myself and Reverend Dr. James Move-Uye, who is an evangelical pastor of the Assembly of God Northern Nigeria. We work together For almost 3 decades, we've been together. And we are on media every weekend discussing, open the platform for engagement. When you see us together engage in a platform from interfaith platforms, talking about the need for us to see us together, you break the ice and you get more youth engaged. So I believe in walking the talk. And walking the talk is what we are doing in this platform at intra-level, at inter-level. Some of the imams have coerced them, encouraged them to say, start doing something that others need to emulate.
Because
and next year, January, we will start a project of having 3,000 youth with Reverend Tunde Volunteer Ministry, Foundation and my foundation, my most foundation, to train 3,000 youth throughout the year to see how we can train them, give them capacity to be able to fend on their own self, at least to support themselves, if not their family, so that they will be out of those child who will be recruited into extremism, violent extremism, radicalization, and banditry, etc., etc. Because today, they are recruiting people into banditry as information. They call them
informants.
Informant. They pay them money to be informant. So how do we break it? And to break that ice is this jingle we are doing.
Okay.
I believe we need to walk the talk.
Yes, we have a caller again, our regular on Tuesday Live, Umar Anache from Benin Kebbi. Go ahead.
Yes. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes.
Good morning already.
Anache, calling from Benin Kebbi. You see, I'm a civil servant. And it is 24th of the month and the fasting period. Up to now, I have not received my salary. Do you know what it entails? That is by the way. I must recommend and commend NTA for airing one program at April Friday called Abrahamic Mission. If that program is to be replicated in all the media houses in the country, because what we need is education. We need an education to able citizens of this country to know that if God wanted to create us all Muslims, He will have done it. If He wanted to create us all Christians, He would have done it. But in His wisdom, He created us Muslim and Christian so that we will live together and live in harmony. May God continue to bless our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Umar Anache. And back in the studio, Bishop Agbami, a little push, like the Imam said, is all we need in this country.
Yes, a little push, a little determination, and more of intentionality. I remember this very popular story in the Bible of the Good Samaritan. The Bible tells us of this traveler that fell among thieves and was beaten up and stripped naked and left half dead. A religious leader came, saw him, and walked away. That was a priest. Another religious leader came, saw him, and walked away. But a Samaritan who had a different culture from the Jewish traveler that had fallen victim of the robbers stopped by and came down from his donkey, placed the injured man on his own donkey, took him to an inn, took care of him there, paid the bill, and Jesus said, "Go and do likewise." I think Christmas, every one of us should imbibe the spirit of the Good Samaritan. The nature of God is to be good. And we as His creation should imbibe that nature. intentionality. Be intentional in being good. You don't have to wait or look to someone else before you do it intentionally. Put a smile on somebody's face. Change someone's destiny. Bring a lift to somebody. Do things intentionally, but please be good to your brother. That way, be good to your sister. Be good to your neighbor.
Be intentional. That's your message there. And you know, the parables of Jesus Christ is like the hadiths in the Muslim faith. You know, for how people should live, you know, their lives and empathize to us for fellow human beings. Let's bring in Archbishop Imam Esong. We're running out of time. Actually, we have just like 10 minutes to go. Let's get your final thoughts in like 2 minutes. Tell us about the action plan that should be taken so that we can change the narrative about how Nigeria should move forward.
Yes, I repeat that we need to have a rethink in our behavioral pattern. Of course, one of the speakers have confirmed you cannot change your behavior on your own except something happen within, on the inside of you, which is what I said before. We have to experience the love of Christmas, the love of Jesus Christ. But more to that, Nigeria, for example, we need to break down the middle walls of partition. You know, in as much as Nigerians are beyond religious and cultural dichotomies, we still have some knacks in our constitution. And some things like state of origin should be removed from the constitution. Even something like when we are feeling from religion, we should remove it from every civil service. Don't ask me my state of origin. Don't ask me my religion. Let's try that. Let's begin from that and see if this country will not change. Because the biases and prejudices that we find in the governmental places and political places are, their bottom line is on the discrimination on somebody's religion and tribe and language. So the federal government should work hard on the constitutional review, judiciary reforms, and something like state of origin should be removed. I have been in Cross River State for 40 years, and you call me a non-indigent? That's not acceptable, because my life, my contribution to the GDP and IGR of this state has been top-notch, and you still call me non-indigent. And that happens to the person in the north and the south, and this is the basic problem we have. So when you go to fill a form and conduct an interview, you ask me what religion am I, and you ask me what is my state of origin. Your biases and prejudices begins from there on me. So talking about unity and development of the country, we have to have that behavioral change. Of course, that will create patriotism in the average Nigerian, so that the project will be project one Nigeria and not all the nomenclatures and the trajectory that is on the background of our relations.
Okay, Archbishop Imam Esong, you've raised another issue here. You know, indigenization policy has always been on the front burner, and I believe that it should be looked into, because that indigenization policy is what is causing a lot of problems in this country. Being born and brought up in a state and then you're not an indigene, that is an issue that needs to be addressed by government. Let's bring in Reverend Israel Akanji into the... We're talking about action plans and how this country can develop, can move forward, so that we can at least be at par with other nations of the world. Let's have your opinion on that.
There is already a program that is going on in Nigeria, the Nigerian Interreligious Council, NIREC. The Nigerian Interreligious Council was formed a little over 2 decades ago, and it has been a meeting point of Christian leaders and Muslim leaders in Nigeria. There are co-chairmen, the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence, and the chairman, the president, His Eminence. The two of them co-chair Nigerian Interreligious Council. Whenever they come together, they're able to discuss issues and ways to even advise government. And it has been working very well at the national level. Now, a lot of times they are able to see government and explain some of their thoughts, which have helped to shape a lot of things in the country, even right now. But that Nigerian Interreligious Council is functioning at the national level. It needs to function at the state level and also at the local government level, where Christian and Muslim leaders will come together and take their template from what is happening at the national level. With this coming together, definitely you can see that unity is already being encouraged and strengthened. So it's a Nigerian Interreligious Council. It is a national apex leader program, but it needs to be cascaded to the states and then to the local governments. And if we're able to do this, there will be better understanding, and the people there will be able to collaborate with the local government and then with the state government, and of course, the national body will keep collaborating with the federal government. With this, the government will be bringing the people closer, and some form of inclusiveness and information sharing will be going on to help us navigate through our processes of development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Reverend. Back in the studio, Pastor Oluche, how should we celebrate Christmas? We are in Christmas already. It's already Christmas.
I think the celebration of Christmas has been expressed that it's a time now to show that you care for your neighbor, because that's the essence of why he came. He knew we were helpless. He knew we were in sin. He knew we could not help ourselves.
Love thy neighbor as yourself.
Like, love your neighbor as yourself. So that's the best way to celebrate Christmas. So like in our church, let me not mention that we are distributing some things, but we want to
have stampedes.
But we have to show neighbor.
Yes, we find ourselves. Yes, what happened was very, very
just
sad.
Think about your neighbor. Think about your neighbor. That's Christmas.
Your neighbor first. Because even in Islam, I believe, even if you're going to sell your property, you look at your neighbor from your life. Yes, and then...
On the sign is even about 40 neighbors.
Yes.
40 neighbors.
So your final thoughts?
My final thought is that I always reflect over the word of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, you are not yet a believer. You are not yet a believer until when your neighbor is saved from the evil of your hand and the evil of your tongue. In another narrative, says, you are not yet a believer until the honor, the dignity, the property, the lives and property of your neighbor is safe in your hand. Which there means says, I want further to say that on that day of judgment, I will stand as an attorney for a non-believer who is my neighbor, whose any Muslim force him or harm him, force him to do what he doesn't want to do, or harm him. I will stand as his attorney before God. Muhammad to stand, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as an attorney, as a lawyer against any Muslims on the day of judgment. That is the key factor. And that's why I'm feeling to tell all Muslims, whoever you are, whoever is a non-Muslim, whoever he is, whatever his faith, when he's your neighbor, it is your duty to protect his honor. It is your duty to protect his integrity. It is your duty to help him in that difficult moment. The nation is going through a very difficult moment. I want what is happening in Abuja community, the Mosque Food Bank, what is happening on the media, Abrahamic Mission. I want it to happen in every mosque in Nigeria. To say there's a day in a week that the mosque is providing food or feeding opportunity or opportunity to engage for people in difficult moment. That is what this festive moment means for me.
Bishop.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've been privileged to be to the birthplace of Jesus in Bethlehem. And before you enter the birthplace of Jesus, there's a door there. And the door is not that high. You have to stoop to be able to access the birthplace of Jesus. It's called the door of humility. Jesus humbled himself, sacrificed his glory, took upon himself flesh for the salvation of humanity. One lesson that stands out for me in Christmas is a lesson Love is a lesson, but humility is another lesson.
So let's go to Reverend Akanji for your final thoughts in 30 seconds, please.
Well, my final thought is that discussions like this have to continue. It is not a one-off thing. These are issues that have been on ground, and talking about them will continue to help us to work together. Right now, our own relationship with one another has been strengthened. Those of us who are on this panel, and I believe that the more we bring issues like this up, the stronger we become. By the way, all the people on the panel are people we have been meeting in a lot of interfaith collaborations, and I'm happy that we are speaking consistently. So we all here now should go and be the examples that Nigeria will need. I think that's the most important thing as we leave this place. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Reverend Akanji. Archbishop Isong, your final thoughts in 30 seconds.
Nigerians should work, pray, and live together in hope. There is hope for this nation. I've been to 52 countries of the world. I want to come back to Nigeria.
Okay, thank you, Archbishop Imam Isong. He joined us via Zoom from Calabar, International President of the Christian Center International in Calabar. Thank you so much for coming on Tuesday Live, and compliments of the season. Israel Akanji, President of the Baptist Convention Nigeria. He earlier served as a senior pastor of the Baptist Church, Garki, for 22 years. Compliments of the season. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
And also here in the studio, Imam Muhammad Ashafar, Co-Executive Director, Interfaith Mediation Center, Kaduna, and Ambassador of Peace for the United Nations Alliance for Civilization. It's been a pleasure having you on Tuesday Live and, gaining knowledge into your insights about
Thank you very much
yes,
for having us around.
Yes. Pastor Oluseyi Malomo, he is the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Olive 3 Parish, Guzape, also the immediate past chaplain of the Aso Villa Chapel. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Compliments of the season. Merry Christmas. Bishop Michael Akwami, National Director, Planning, Research and Strategy, Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN. He is also National Director, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, CAN Liaison Office. We appreciate your presence here and your insight into the topic.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
And that's Tuesday Live today. Thanks so much for watching. I am Juma Yusuf. Like Sirius Toba will always say, stay safe.
Communication is inherently harmless. It becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
The mosaic of... So piece together your time wisely.
Are you a tech enthusiast? Perhaps you want to know more about the devices and gadgets you use. Tech Mode will bridge that gap. connects great minds while explaining everything about technology as it concerns you.
It is Tech Mode.
Tech Mode is unlocking your tomorrow today.
We're back